and priorities to guide the discussions and deliberations of this important gathering, along with messages of support from our alliance partners. The Lekgotla, which brings together the ANC leadership, alliance partners and other stakeholders, is an important opportunity to evaluate progress, address challenges, and chart a way forward in advancing the national democratic revolution and the aspirations of the Freedom Charter. Setting the context to the Lekgotla, President Ramaphosa's political overview emphasized the broad national and global factors shaping this year's Lekgotla, including the theme for 2025, the year of renewal, to make the ANC a more effective instrument of the people to achieve the vision of the Freedom Charter. The people shall govern as the tagline. The people shall share in the country's wealth, which is a direct quote from the clauses of the Freedom Charter. As the ANC celebrates the 70th anniversary of the Freedom Charter, the President reminded the gathering that the society envisioned in the Charter remains unrealized due to persistent challenges such as racism, patriarchy, inequality, and economic exclusion. These realities underline the need for the ANC to remain resolute in its mission to achieve the vision of the Freedom Charter and lead the transformation agenda. The President highlighted key challenges shaping the domestic and global context. Domestically, the persistence of the triple challenges of unemployment, poverty, and inequality remains a critical issue. There is a pressing need to address ongoing service delivery issues, crime, gender-based violence, and the high cost of living. Strengthening the ANC's role in the government of national unity is crucial to ensuring the implementation of ANC resolutions and policies. Globally, rising instability and attacks on multilateralism continue to affect South Africa and the developing world. Increasing conflicts in Africa, the Middle East, and Europe, along with global economic challenges, exacerbate poverty and unemployment in South Africa, requiring a strategic response. We emphasize three urgent and interrelated priorities to guide the Lekgotla discussions. First, the renewal and rebuilding of the ANC must focus on strengthening its structures, especially branches, to serve as vibrant centers of community life. The renewal agenda must prioritize restoring public trust and ensuring the ANC remains a decisive and ethical leader. Secondly, economic growth and job creation must be at the forefront of the ANC's agenda. Opportunities in manufacturing, the green economy, and digital technologies should be leveraged to stimulate inclusive economic growth and job creation. Addressing youth unemployment through targeted education reforms, skills development, and entrepreneurship programs is critical. Thirdly, improving service delivery and accountability is essential. Efforts must focus on addressing water insecurity and eradicating water mafias that sabotage infrastructure. The formalization of informal settlements must be accelerated, and access to basic services for indigent households must be expanded. Developing a comprehensive indigent register will provide critical support to vulnerable households facing rising costs. We also celebrate and reflect on the 300 days without load shedding, which coincided with South Africa's attendance to the World Economic Forum this past week. A delegation of business and government went to World Economic Forum with a message of hope practically in terms of interventions that we are making in terms of improving the economy. The ANC applauds Eskom's achievement of over 300 consecutive days without load shedding, a significant milestone that underscores the progress made under the ANC-led government's commitment to addressing South Africa's energy challenges. This accomplishment is a direct result of the comprehensive measures outlined in the ANC manifesto, including the maintenance and refurbishment of Eskom infrastructure, additional energy procurement, and the transition to renewable energy sources. Stable energy supply is key to unlocking economic growth, attracting investment, and improving the quality of life for all South Africans. It ensures the uninterrupted operation of schools, hospitals, and businesses while advancing the ANC's vision of social transformation. We commend the dedication of Eskom's workforce and all stakeholders involved and reaffirm our commitment to ensuring energy security for the benefit of the nation. It has now been proven beyond reasonable doubt that the commitment that was made by government that we will work to turn around the situation and turn around from an electricity crisis that manifested itself through load shedding, we will overcome. This was not just a mere election gimmick, as it was characterized some months ago. Accelerating land reform and the Expropriation Act is one of the key important transformational matters that this government is accelerating. The President reaffirmed the importance of accelerating land reform as a key pillar of transformation. The recent enactment of the Expropriation Act provides a legal framework to address historical injustices and promote equitable access to land. The Act enables the expropriation of land in the public interest, including for land reform and socio-economic development. Government must prioritize the implementation of the Act to unlock opportunities in agriculture, human settlements, and industrial development. The President noted that land reform is essential not only for justice and redress, but also for economic growth and national food security. And by the way, this matter has been with us in the National Assembly as well as the NCOP up until to the point that it was now on the desk of the President to sign, and he has done exactly that. So all the boxes have been ticked. Now that the DA and others wake up in their slumber as though this is new, they have not been aware of it. President Ramaphosa just woke up and formulated an act and decided to sign. That's not how things are done. It's basically to take shortcuts in the supply chain system of processing of bills in Parliament up until at the level of government. And if there's something unlawful in terms of the signing of this act, it can be ventilated in the courts and other terrains that are applicable to those who don't actually approve, rather than to bring GNU into this particular matter when it is a matter that was finalized long time ago. And what the president does when an act and a bill has undergone a particular process, he look at it in terms of the law, and when he get an advice that he cannot sign, he basically take it back to Parliament. The fact that the president have signed it means he's convinced that in terms of the law, this act is consistent with our constitutional prescripts. The DA knows, and everybody else, that this was not only in the pipeline, it was just a matter of time that the president will sign. There is, for instance, an e-hailing matter of the National Transport Act amendment that permit the operation of e-hailing. It's in the desk of the president. He took it back, and then we went back to Parliament. I was Minister of Transport, and we were waiting for the president to basically respond to that by signing this into an act to enable a regulated environment for the e-hailing, taxi people or public transport people in our country. So these are things that are there that we know have been there. So at the present moment, people opportunistically want to short-circuit processes that have been followed to the latter, using GNU to basically scupper what they failed in the democratic process that we undergo in terms of processing these bills. So it's not something new. It has been there. And all political parties who were in Parliament know that. So if anyone wants to challenge the act and say that in terms of the law, is either it is inadequate or it is unlawful, so our system allows for checks and balances for such matters to be processed. So they are free to do so, rather than grandstanding and seek to deal with this matter as though it is something new. And also want to redefine how the executive must function. Once the act is an act, you are a minister, you have to implement the act. Or otherwise, we will take you to task for non-implementation of the act. We'll take you to task in terms of the legislature, the National Assembly, will hold you accountable. That is the first thing. Secondly, we'll take you to task for non-implementation of an act of government and of the people of South Africa, which is constitutional. So you've got no choice. It's lawful. You can't run government like as if it is your stokvel. You do what you want. If it doesn't happen, you can disappear with the money of the stokvel. No, it doesn't work like that. And then people must be educated on how government is getting. You run government. You take an oath. You are a minister. You are not there because you represent your party. Once you are sworn in, you are a minister. You must implement all the acts of government. Any minister who doesn't do that will hold them accountable. It is up to the president to deal with matters in relation to his prerogative. We are not going to give instructions to him about that. Bella Act, we had to delay its implementation and sign it into law and delay implementation of certain aspects of the Bella Act. That was a huge compromise on the part of the president. But still, in the discussion, you couldn't get as to what is this point that has been raised. Here in South Africa, it has become evident and very clear every day that the fundamental difference between us and our strategic opponents is nothing else. It's about agreeing about what constitutes the consensus in relation to the transformation of South Africa. From the undesirable state to the desirable. The undesirable state is a state of apartheid that we are transforming. We are transforming this country to equality for all. And that is what we differ with those who differ with the transformational things we seek to advance. We cannot agree that South Africa cannot advance in terms of transformation. It must stagnate, it must stand still. No, we cannot agree to that. This country must be transformed from all aspects. And that's what people vote for. When you see your vote counts, you see it now. You voted for transformation, for things to change for the better, to change things from this undesirable to the desirable state where we all live in equality. Equality does not just mean that we can sing the same national anthem together. It goes beyond that. It means we have been separated in many other ways, in terms of language and all of that. And then society has been racialized in terms of areas where we live in through Group Areas Act. You have repealed that, but it doesn't end that. How do you address the question of integration of our people in the long term and going forward? And the law must assist us to transform. And the resistance from those who say the status quo must remain. There is no fundamental problem of land in South Africa. Anyone who says that, it tells you where do they come from. The ANC cannot agree to that. That is why we put progressive laws to enable us to advance. Even this expropriation act that the president has signed, it's not an end in itself. The struggle continues. We want a total picture to enable us to advance. We have said right from the onset, we will advance the struggle for land redistribution and equity through legal means. We're not going to do land grab and then still simply stay with the policy that says willing seller, willing buyer is sufficient. We started there. We need now to advance. 30 years on, we're still here. So we're advancing. Expropriation that has been signed by the president is important for our people and for South Africa. It's no exclusion to everyone. Status quo must remain. We are not for that. On global leadership and solidarity, the president reiterated the ANC's commitment to building a better Africa and a better world, guided by principles of anti-colonialism, Pan-Africanism, and human rights. South Africa will utilize its G20 presidency to advance the interests of Africa and the global South, focusing on green industrialization and the strategic use of critical minerals. The ANC will continue to support the struggle for self-determination in Palestine and Western Sahara. And we very much as well welcome the ceasefire agreement. We so wish that it can lead a step further in terms of addressing the question of self-determination of the Palestinian people. But ceasefire is very important. It enables us to advance further. The president reminded delegates of the importance of upcoming National General Council, scheduled for the second half of the year, as a platform to assess effectiveness of ANC policies and programs. In our next NEC meeting, we will focus on the General Council, its preparations, and also, among others from this meeting, we are discussing rebuilding, renewal program of action of the ANC in terms of membership, branches, and everything else that deals with organization building. So this is the year of renewal of the ANC. It is renewal or perish. We understand that very well. This will coincide with celebration of the 70th anniversary of the Freedom Charter, a moment to recommit to the principles enshrined in this historic document. The Lekgotla will deliberate on these priorities and tasks in the coming days, guided by the ANC's election manifesto, National Conference resolutions, and the January 8 statement. This Lekgotla is not the reinvention of new policies. We've got policies. Remember, we went to a national conference. I want to explain this to you so that you understand it very clear. Lekgotla is a strategic forum every year that brings us all together to look as to whether are we still consistent with the conference resolutions? Are we advancing? And for that year, in terms of the January 8 statement, what are the tasks? In this instance, we have defined 6 priorities, which are basically consistent with what is in the manifesto. And this is what this Lekgotla is about, to say, in the January 8, we said government must do the following. In terms of the January 8, we said organizationally, to complement what government is doing. These are the things that we need to do as an organization. So this Lekgotla is about that. It's a strategic platform in which we say, as people meet in the different rooms here, they discuss implementation, not innovation. That what is the best policy to advance for this year? Industrialization and industrialization. It's not policy, but a guiding task from the manifesto to date that we must advance. So in the commissions there, they discuss industrialization and at the same time innovation and so on, from the point of view of what we need to do, because we believe it's a major intervention, creating industries, expanding and all of that in order to create more jobs for our economy. So in looking ahead, the President reminded delegates of the importance of upcoming General Council that is scheduled. This will coincide with the Freedom Charter, as we said, and in conclusion, the ANC remains committed to uniting the country and addressing the challenges facing the people and advancing the aspirations of the Freedom Charter. The outcomes of this Lekgotla will chart a path forward for renewal, service delivery, and economic transformation, ensuring the ANC remains a trusted and effective instrument of the people of South Africa. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Comrade SG. I will then take hands from colleagues who wish to ask questions. I will start this side. Let me start with print, Masungwini, then I'll come to SABC, and then to be Sunday World. In that order, please. You are on the floor.
My name is Nomen Masungwini from City Press. Now that the ANC is no longer the government of the day on its own, how are you hoping to implement the resolution or the decisions that are taken here without resistance from the GNU partners? Just like we have seen in the past where the DA was open, or perceived to have been openly defying the president as the in government on LHI, Bellabid and others. And what does it say about the ANC or the president's powers when that happened, when in public people or DA ministers were talking a different language from the president and nothing happened to them? What did you do, or what did the president do about that to hold them accountable for talking outside the government and pushing the party politics instead of the government mandate? Thank you.
Thank you. SABC.
Mr. Mbarula, just your response on Johnston Hayes and DA leader invoking clause 19 of that particular agreement that you had with them on the Government of National Unity Statement of Intent. Then secondly, the battles between Minister Dean McPherson and the Deputy Minister Sihle Zikalala, particularly at Public Works, over the IDT and essentially now on the Expropriation Act that has recently been enacted by President Cyril Ramaphosa. How do you respond to those particular battles? Thank you.
Thank you. Sandiwal?
Thanks, Madeleine Mawande from Sandiwal. Perhaps as a continuation from Sam's questions, SG, on the issue of that letter by Mr. Johnston Hazen, he raises a point which has been, in fact, a point that has been bubbling under about this confusion about what constitutes sufficient consensus, as it were, in terms of the statement of intent. How do you understand it? And also, I think you also point to that where you say they seem to be confused raising issues that came before the GNU government. In fact, it is the GNU not empowered to deal with issues that precede the formation of the GNU. And then also with that, many so far, many doubted, well, including me, that the ANC will have these victories that you've had since the GNU. I really thought that the DA was going to, just run you over. But so far, you've done tremendously well. I think it's 3-0 if we talk in soccer terms. How have you done it? What is the strategy? I mean, because even how you place the DA ministers now, you place them in what look like strategic positions, but now you're forcing them to implement ANC policies. How have you done this, and how will you do it going forward to force your policies to be implemented in a GNU that has other parties? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll take Yense.
All right, thanks very much. Moluku here from ENCA. I just want to understand, because prior to the signing of the Health Insurance Act, business canvassed the president not to sign it into an act. I'm trying to understand whether prior to signing the Expropriation Act, perhaps as the ANC, whether you are aware that the DA or any other interested party perhaps might have tried to lobby you and the president not to sign it into an act. But they are accusing you, the DA that is, of doing this, particularly with regard to this new act, because you are doing all you can in order to claw back the support you lost to the MK party. My last question relates to the information we just picked up that the National Disciplinary Committee of the ANC has decided to charge and give charge sheets or charges to 5 leaders of the ANC, Anc Lekgotla, Cedric Frolik, as well as David Makobo, and also Obed Babel. As the custodian of the ANC, as the Secretary General, can you just perhaps confirm or deny those, and also keep us bring us into confidence in terms of the charges that they are faced with? But lastly, because I'm told that the first 4, the charges relate to the Zondo Commission, people are asking, what about people like the National Chairperson, Mandasha, as well as the First Secretary, Deputy Secretary General, and many others, because we understand there's over 80 people who were implicated in one way or the other, who ought to have appeared before the Integrity Committee.
That was the last question, Moluku?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Is that fine, MSG, that we proceed with this one?
Thank you very much for change. We're discussing transformation in this press conference. Thank you very much for the questions. City Press, how do we hope to implement decisions without partners and DA ministers in the GNU? The president of the country is sitting there in the union buildings processing pieces of legislation before him. and is guided well into his decisions, politically and otherwise and legally, by his capable team to make determinations about these bills. And once he has applied his mind, he acts on the bills, and this is what has happened since the starting of the GNU. And we have said to you that Government of National Unity is guided by the statement of intent in relation to constitutionalism and the rule of law. But we have said to you that GNU is not a melting pot. You've got political parties that don't agree among themselves. And in particular, the main contending forces there is the ANC and the DA. The DA will seek to push back on a whole range of issues. The ANC will drive the transformation agenda in relation not only to its constituency but to South Africa as a whole. We don't seek to claw back any support. We're just consistent. If the DA was the ANC with the largest support and they were in the driving seat of the GNU, what will they do about it? They will probably not sign all the late pieces of legislation that were supposed to come before them at any given point in time. So the GNU is not a melting pot. And in this particular instance, the DA, if they want to engage, which we are ready to engage on these particular matters in the context of the measures and the mechanisms we have put in place, we will do so. And we'll do so fairly, and we'll do so principled in relation to what we stand for. And that's what everybody needs to actually understand. The ANC will not change in its path of transforming South Africa and transformation with 40 votes that we received in the last election. We will persist with the transformation agenda. And that's what is happening right now. But engagement, yes, we are ready to engage. I was talking to the President now about engagement with everybody, of which, including the DA. I mean, we will engage with the DA on these particular matters and understand where they come from, even though we are clearer about where they come from, because we ventilated these matters in Parliament in the 6th administration. We engaged in portfolio committees, we engaged in discussions, and then we managed to pass the bill in Parliament. It passed, went to the NCOP, passed. They were there. Now it is before the President, and the President says to South Africa, I'm signing it into law because nothing is prohibiting me from signing this bill into law. It's an act now. So what is the issue? The issue is not whether it is unlawful or not. It is a fundamental ideological issue about the direction we need to take in this country. Redistribute, and at the same time ensure that those who are in the fringes are also benefiting in terms of the land redistribution program of this country. And that's what is happening right now in our eyes and to everybody's understanding. So we are ready, City Press, to engage. DA, there's no DA minister in the GNU. It's ministers who must conduct themselves in terms of the prescripts of the law. I'm not going to use this language that if they don't want, they can go. No, it doesn't work like that. Because when they chose to participate as a party, they knew what they want. Because it is very clear to me every day that they wanted to put brakes on transformation. And by day, if they get frustrated and they don't succeed, they might embark on other ways. And it's up to them as the party. But when they make the choice, they knew the path they were embarking upon. The same as us. We know the dangers, the difficulties, and the risks. But we made it very clear that we will not compromise on what made the ANC to get 40%. We will not compromise on that. We made it very clear. And once we do that, we've got to account to our constituency, to our membership. Why did we now deviate from implementing resolutions of the ANC? Of course, we have said and we've been open and we've been castigated week in and week out about our choice of GNU, which include the DA. We said we want to work for South Africa and for everybody. We invited everyone to come in the GNU, knowing very well that GNU is not a melting pot. It has got thorns and so on along the way, and we just have got to look at them and so on. So people came here with a clear understanding of what they want to achieve, and it is only them and only them who know why they also embraced this kind of an approach. And so I'm not going to say, because the ANC will not dismiss anyone from the GNU and say, go away. We won't do that. We want to work for South Africa, but we are not convenient. We know we are for transformation. And if people want to put brakes, they must then win elections outright and get rid of the ANC. They couldn't get rid of us. They only reduced us below 50. And that is it. So if we're out of power, there's nothing we'll do. Our people will have seen for themselves. But what our people have given to us to continue to participate, enable us to continue with the agenda of transforming this country for the better. And that is what we are doing as the African National Congress going forward. We often get accused by many, including our allies, that our policies are selling out, we are neoliberal, and everything else. It took us so long to do a lot of things. We did nothing with the majority that we got at some point. We sat on it and all of that. We would have addressed this thing of land redistribution long time ago with the 2/3 majority we got. Why didn't we do it? We get accused about that. But we've got reasons why certain things had to happen the way they do. And our mandate is very clear. And the DA need to be clear about that. And they are very clear when they deal with the ANC, what they are dealing with. They are dealing with a party that is resolute, that is for transformation of South Africa. And that transformation was not achieved in 30 years. It's still deepening. We need to deepen that transformation. That is why we said that, and we used this, not guardedly, correctly so, that to us, we believe in 29 May we have suffered a setback. But that setback is not permanent, it's strategic setback. Right? It means we can still not maneuver advance the course of transformation for South Africa. And that is it. So those who don't want transformation failed to get rid of the ANC. And we want transformation for all in our country. So ministers must behave. Unfortunately, they must behave. In this context, they must understand that they can argue their issues in cabinet, they can argue as a bloc in cabinet, but my own experience of how cabinet functions Cabinet doesn't work according to a block. You present to Cabinet, your matters go through various phases in terms of the supply chain of processing matters in government. And then Cabinet is the ultimate, and from there you go to Parliament, and then Parliament process issues. And then from there, they come back to the President, and the President has got to apply his mind and sign on these bills. So that's what has happened here. So you can only hold that process if you legally feel that there are missteps in terms of the processes, and that one way or the other, we now have got to resort to other ways to stop the President, go to court. That has actually happened, even in the past. SABC, Clause 19, we were happy to see how it's been invoked by the DA. I saw John Oosthuizen saying that. Conflict between Sihle and Dean is quite interesting, actually. That conflict. You don't have to be worried about it. I think Sihle is representing what we as the ANC support. And Dean is just being out of character. He must talk to his deputy. He cannot chastise the deputy minister. That's why the debate now degenerates about qualifications and all of that, because the way he speaks to Sihle is like Sihle is what is this? A ball boy who must carry his briefcase wherever he goes, and because he's a minister, he sits in cabinet, the deputy doesn't have an opinion. I was a deputy minister one time in government of a minister of the ANC. We're both from ANC, and this minister wanted me to be like a ball boy, and I told him, no, I'm not here. I've come here to play my role. So Dean must speak to his deputy in government, and they must talk. And he cannot think that every time he faces a difficulty, he must run to the DA. No, he must talk to the deputy in government, and then they must face each other there. So that's what is important, rather than running to his party and shouting from outside when he's got executive authority. He must deal with that matter properly and quite maturely in government. It's very difficult in the GNU because you account to your party and you come with the mandate of your party in a very, very difficult terrain. So he must resolve issues maturely in government and talk to ministers. If they is not going to behave, then the chief executive officer of the republic, which is the president, who's driving cabinet, will have to intervene and will urge the president to intervene and deal and bring order in his cabinet in terms of his ministers and deputy ministers. Sunday World, the statement of intent, yes, it's still there. We signed it. So we will be ready to engage with anyone who want us to come to the round table. I will surely talk to Helen, but from where I'm seated, I don't have problems. So we will engage whenever it is necessary to do so. We are open to do that. We have committed ourselves when we face difficulties, and political parties have difficulties in the GNU in relation to matters including about expropriation. We will meet and talk about those issues. This is what is important. We have not outmaneuvered the DA. The point is that they have outmaneuvered themselves because they know that how legislation has been processed. We got into this election. President signed NHI before GNU, isn't it? Yes, he signed NHI before GNU, and then he signed Bella Act after. After it has undergone all the processes, now the expropriation. So the DA should have known, and they did not say to us in the statement of intent, all the bills that we disagreed with, you must start them afresh. They didn't say that to us. We would have told them right from the onset that we don't agree, and that's it. So they hoped that maybe some spirit will come in along the way to stop things. It doesn't work like that. You become honest with your people and your partners. When you enter into a terrain, fundamentally you say, then if that is the case, you are not going to start everything afresh. We're not coming and easy. They didn't say that in the negotiations. It was not there that we will. When you want to pin things around documents, and then you then pick up a clause and say, let's go. In terms of this clause, Section 19, how will it reverse what is happening right now? We can go and talk and discuss. We will engage. We are open to do that. But the matters are resolved in government. That's where they are. So Paul Mashatile, as the deputy president, is chairing that committee where they all sit. So let them go and sit there in the committee and discuss this bill. And then and see how many political parties in the government of national unity disagree with this particular bill and all of that. So that's one approach that they can take because it's what is being implemented at the present moment. So to say to them that they can go, that's not the approach the ANC is going to take. We committed to the GNU. We committed to our transformation agenda. We are ready to engage with everybody. In our view, there is nothing wrong that the president did. If this bill was unlawful, the president would have sent it back to Parliament. And that's what we believe, that all political parties have looked into this bill in Parliament and gave the president the green light, sign. So president, he doesn't just wake up and sign. He look at the legalities of this. So if they've got things that they think, you see, there are certain things that we cannot change overnight. That's what we need to understand. We are guided by the law, the spirit of the law in terms of how things get to be done. ENCA, clawback, MK Party, MK Party. What were you saying about these people?
No, I'm saying the DA is saying that you are forging ahead.
Oh, I've answered that question. Yeah, no, we're not. We are just consistent.
But also I was asking if before the signing of this expropriation bill into an act, whether you have knowledge as to whether the president was canvassed not to go ahead with it.
President would have been canvassed in terms of the legislature, the National Assembly. And then we passed this in the National Assembly and went to the NCOP. How would this bill have landed in the desk of the president? It landed in his desk because it undergoes those processes. And I've made an example about the National Land Transport Act in terms of e-hailing. It's before the desk of the president. As a minister, I was advised I can't put pressure on the president. I was a minister of transport. I was dealing with e-hailing, Uber, Bolt, and everything else, then there was conflict there. So we did a lot of work with Joe Maswanganyi and Blayton Zimande, which I inherited and I took it forward. President returned that to Parliament. And then Parliament did its work, is before the President. And then I was saying, hey, these people are fighting here. President, can you sign? Then I was quickly advised by my law advisors in my ministry that you don't do that to the president minister. Leave the president. He's looking at this matter. He will do it, even if it's after 6 months. That's the process. This is not new. So, because the president have got to apply his mind, not his head of a political party. Yes, he's the president of the ANC. He knows this must happen. But if he gets into government and they tell him that this can't happen because there are missteps in terms of the law, or there is a lacuna or whatever that it is in the bill, you can't sign it, the president won't sign it. He will send it back to Parliament. And that is it. Now, people are charged. Yes, people are charged. I did tell you in Cape Town that people will be charged. They are charged because they did not appear before the Integrity Commission. We did tell them even before the elections, we did brief you, that people can go to cabinet or no, they can go to Parliament and all of that, but these matters are going to appear before the DC. I was painstakingly explaining to you every press conference about Integrity Commission that the NEC, this NEC, took a decision that the following comrades must be charged. And that's what is happening right now. And that is being implemented. I told you that Obed will be charged in terms of issues you know about, and that matter is before the DC now. And I told you that we are going to act on others who have been showing wayward behavior, thinking that we are in a place where they can do as they wish in the NC. And the NEC said, Secretary General, act. And I've explained to you, I'm explaining again. When people get charged, it's not the decision of the NEC most of the time. They get charged because you have crossed the line. We have said, here is the line. Anyone who crosses this line, the organization must act. And the organization can't have eyes and all of that. We have said in the ANC, there is no difficulty for anybody to express themselves in one way or the other, politically. We are an organization that embraces the principle of dissent. We won't charge anybody because he's got a different view. There are many different views today here, I'm sure, inside. If you get there, you will get into the commissions, you will get different views. You saw most the alliance, how they were speaking in the morning and all of that. And that's why we have said that you cannot attack Solima Paila because he represents a different view on behalf of the party. It's not his view. The Communist Party met with the ANC. As the SG of the ANC, I cannot in public attack the General Secretary of the Communist Party because he does not, it's not him. The Communist Party have got a different view in terms of GNU. As much as I can have reservations, but I must respect that office, respect the Communist Party, the same as themselves. When others call me Mr. GNU, I'm not GNU. I don't like it, GNU, but it's the position of the ANC that we have adopted as the National Executive Committee. And surely many people see now what GNU and coalitions have done to us. Today, we are here explaining ourselves to our opponents about expropriation to advance transformation. If we're not in this GNU, our people came out in numbers and voted, I wouldn't even need a call to anybody. I will simply say that we are implementing the policy of the ANC. But the ANC has been undermined in terms of its majority and muscle to advance people's power and advance the agenda of transformation. Today, we are constrained. We are constrained. We explain ourselves about things that we shouldn't be explaining ourselves because I'm explaining myself to somebody that I know very well that where do they come from? in terms of their opposition to this bill. And what do we represent as the ANC in relation to this bill? That is not non-negotiable. Now, if I have to bend back and forth in relation to these particular matters, is because our power, our wings to fly have been clipped and our power to advance has been weakened. And we have said that we are weakened, but we are not out. So, we are not clawing back and anything of that sort. We are doing consistently what we stand for as the party. What about Gwede? Gwede did appear before the Integrity Commission. He did. He went there. I've got a report. I've tabled that report the NEC adopted on Gwede. So that's where things are. So if a letter or a charge for violating Rule 25 is before any individual, it's because there is something that informs that. Now, you say there are 85 people of the ANC or whatever number that appeared before the Integrity Commission. Why they are not charged? Lucky Montana is no longer a member of the ANC. And then if somebody, I'm giving you an example, is in MK party, is wearing camouflage every day. So others have left. And others say, who said I'm your member? Now, these ones are members of the NEC. They sit with us. They are members. So they have been charged in that status. But not that others have been left out. I can tell you right now, many others who have been served and who will be served with these charges, before you get charged, we look at your membership. Their membership has lapsed. They were members. Others have never been members. You can look at a person there in government and all of that, civil servant you think is a member of the ANC. It's not. It's not a member. Doesn't even attend branch meetings. But he was called before the Zondo Commission, and you conclude that these people are members of the ANC. They are not. I mean, there's another one, I wrote a letter, he said, who said I'm a member, SG? I mean, with due respect, man, please, leave me alone. And then what do? I leave you alone. You are not a member. When I look at the records, he's not there. He says, what business do I have with you? It is Zondo and you this side. No, man. I'm not uneasy. I'm not coming. I'm not a member, you know. I was a member. I'm not. So there are many. I'll give you a list. You will see them. They say they are not members. Now, these ones are here. And then they've been charged. And I can't discuss the content of the charge in a press conference. But I can confirm to you that there are people who have been charged and there are reasons, and you know about that. It's not new. It's only that Mahlengi was not efficient enough to give you a statement that the following people, because if he doesn't do that, they come to you and say, I'm being chased after. They know that these things were going to happen. They happen in the organization. And it's not like it's something new and all of that. They were in the NEC. When we went for national elections, some of them, we spoke to them about these matters. They said, no, we'll cross the thing when we get there. And that is why there's conflict or feud, so to say, between us, you know. And the problem is that when you've got to act in a position of authority mandated by the ANC, you've got no choice unless you then become wayward yourself. You sit on issues, you don't process them, and then in the ANC, I cannot sit on issues. It's not only the NEC that come to the SG and ask about things. There's Veterans League, there's Integrity Commission. There's a whole lot of structures we have established. And they've got the right to ask SG, where you have established an integrity commission. Are we a just make me nice project? Because we sit, we process things, we feel like you comrades are not taking us serious. You don't process. You don't even come and tell us yes or no. And then one day they are going to come and say, we want to see the NEC. The NEC is going to say, we have processed all matters. We don't know why the SG is not processing matters. When I arrived here, the former Secretary General was just piling things under the table like this and not processing them. And then he knew that, hey, this thing is going to come my direction one day. I'm not processing anything here. So things were not being processed. They were just there in the office. He was ignoring them. So I can't do that. We can't do that. We were elected to run the ANC. And if we didn't want to be in this position, we should have said nicely, I'm sorry, I decline. Give to others. So I agreed. So when I arrive here, it is not nice. Even now, it's not nice for me. I mean, people look at me with zigzag, this SG is a problem. I'm not a problem. I'm just doing the job that they mandated me to do. And I'm happy to do that. It's not nice, but most of the time it's nice. But not all the things are nice. We spent the whole weekend not discussing not so nice things last weekend about the state of our organization. And I don't want to dwell into that because we dealt with it last week. Thank you very much. And anyone who can ask me about that, I won't answer to. Yeah.
Thanks for clarifying that, SG.
Yes.
I will take the next and final set of questions to those who wish to. I will start here, right in front, with Lunga, and followed by Siantanda.
No, thank you so much, SG. My name is Lunga from the Mediterranean. My first one would be, I know you said at one of the press conferences that the NEC mandated you to start putting the Integrity Commission's appeal. I just want to hear, has that been done? And will those of the Integrity Commission find guilty then be able to access the appeals, or what do they do as a recourse after they've been found, if they do get found guilty? And also, last week, you cautioned us at the press briefing that about that lady, about Javedi, that they don't want to speak about issues like that. But you look at what happened in Cape Town yesterday with Jamie Smith. Where does the ANC stand with that? Do you think that he should step aside, he should be removed from government? Thank you so much.
My name is Anc Lekgotla from News 24. Mr. Malila, can I just take it back to the John Kenny's press conference? He accused the ANC of essentially disrespecting the DA. And I want to ask you, do you really feel that you've actually respected your coalition partners? I mean, Helen Zille has said that you've looked at her sometimes. Could you just speak to us about the respect between the two parties, leading to where we are now with the letter being sent to the president by John Kenny's? And then secondly, you are on the record saying that if the DA wants to leave the GNU, they can go. The deputy, Nombula Mkonene, also said the DA can leave if it wants to, but today you're changing your tone, you're saying you're not going to do that. What has changed? Thank you.
Thank you. I have a question from Olivia, who's with Reuters. SG, what is the ANC's response to the DA saying it was a reset of relations in the unity government, as it accused the government of not properly consulting coalition partners on bills relating to universal health coverage as well as the expropriation of land? Further, the DA has said it has now declared a dispute and has invoked Section 19 of the GNU Statement of Intent. what is the ANC's response and what does the party think should happen next. I'll take one last question and then proceed. I think you had omitted to ask another question.
Yes, I just want to.
Yeah.
SG, also just to add on my questions, if you look at the partners, at the ministers in the GNU, you look at CBU, you look at Dean, they've been put in positions where the ANC, like for instance, was pushing the Bella Act. Dean has been put in one of the expropriation bill. Was it a strategy of the ANC to put them in positions where their voters are going to go against them in future? Because as a minister, they have to implement this thing that government has said must go to. So was it a strategy to put them in a compromising position? Thank you.
Right. Can I then move on to the second row? We all go here. Okay, I'll take the last and the final row. Moloko and my brother over there.
Yeah, mine was just a follow-up question. Now that you confirm, SG, that the 5 have been served with charges, when does the step-aside rule kick in, seeing that some of them are presently suspended?
Thank you.
Thank you, SG. I'm Jackie from Love World Set. Mine is a quick one and it pertains to the Land Expropriation Act.
Sorry, from?
Love World Set.
Love Wealth.
Yes.
Okay.
So,
I truly wonder why members of the media are laughing. But please go ahead. You are protected.
So, SG, mine it's about the expropriation bill and the community engagement program. We all know in this room that the land issue has been, it's hitherto a very complex and a sensitive issue. A lot of people have been waiting for this and the expectation has been predominantly underpinned by the issues of human settlement. Does the ANC have a plan to relieve this Lekgotla with a program that will seek to engage communities to avoid issues of land grabbing, so that the ANC does not find itself in a compromised position where it has signed an act that allows people to embrace land grabbing? Thank you.
Thank you very much. That this is a sheer indulgence. You'll be the last person.
Thanks for hanging out. I'll be very short. Let me ask you on the issues of these comrades who have been charged by that. I know you say you won't divulge what the charges are, but you are really leaving us with speculation. Maybe just to say, for instance, where I'm seated, I'm wondering, is ill-discipline for refusing to go to the IC, or what is it exactly? At least give us the broader explanation of what the charge could be. And also with that, you say, what did you say? Mr. Mandashi is not charged because he went, but this reporter also went to the IC, but he is among those that are charged, well, according to my brother. So that is the question. Maybe to emphasize on Lunga's point about J.B. Smith, very broadly as to what is your comment on the corruption allegations in the city of Cape Town? Because J.B. Smith is not the first one, it was Manusi Boy. DA is always the first to make noise about corruption. What is the ANC view about what seems like endemic corruption in the DA-run city of Cape Town? And maybe on a final lighter note, who is this minister wanted you to carry their bag?
Thank you. Thank you very much. Over to you, SG.
Yeah. Let bygones be bygones. Thank you very much, Lunga. Integrity Commission, that matter is still being processed after the adoption of the terms of reference, exactly what it means in practice. So I hope that by the time we get to the NEC by February, these are some of the matters we need to close. But the terms of reference are there, have been adopted. The Integrity Commission, we have briefed them, they are working within that. The part that we need to clarify is this one of the appeal, which in our engagement we needed to clarify further because they raise questions around that as to what does that mean and so on. So we need to deal with that particular issue. We're very honest with the DA. We don't work with, and like with all other political parties. We didn't place anybody in any position. They chose those positions themselves. They wanted DTI, we deadlocked. But these positions, we didn't give them. They chose them. And then we wouldn't leave basic education to the DA. We didn't leave public works to the DA. All positions in the GNU are critical. But you see, because you are an honest partner, you can't fool the people of South Africa and say you came with, what is this thing? A concept coined GNU in order to manage South Africans. And then you go and give people positions in the GNU that are less meaningful. If you talk about property relations in this country, you are talking about public works. If you want to accelerate and address the question of the state and property relations. And we're at pains, but we had to face each other and say, but comrades, we didn't win. We didn't win. We registered excellent results. That shows that Angie Motshekga, for having been there for 10 years, consistently as a minister, it can give results. She was never reshuffled. She did an excellent job. After 5 years, for the first time in the history of this country, 87.3% of the results for the youth led by the ANC under Usis Ange. We have had ministers, but chop and change. But we decided that stay there. And I think the president, in his wisdom, he would have maintained if we won elections, among others, Usis Ange in that position, for continuity. Government, I never understood why President Mbeki was not reshuffling people every weekend. He was not doing it. And some of you, I think you were not born that time. Abo Lunga and so on. Or they were, okay, let me say you were born, but maybe you were still at university. Primary school, I'm at 2000, Abo Lunga. I mean, you may his soul rest in peace. When you had issues on the AIDS issue with Mamumand, and very effective in what she was doing, President under attack left and right, never got excited to reshuffle anyone at any given point in time. I came to appreciate that more when I became minister. That because you become minister for 2 years, somebody comes. For instance, take the department critical like fighting crime. Okay? We have a new minister now. I was there in that department. Beki came. He was a general. He came back as a minister. He's gone. It's Senzo. Doing a critical job. Maybe after 4 years, 5 years, you remove Senzo. You bring somebody. He's doing an excellent job right now. But I'm saying, I've come to appreciate in government why you need to maintain people in positions in order to register tangible results. Because you change a person in government after 2 years, it means nothing. Because policy is entrenched and is implemented by the civil servants. And the minister is a political overseer of the implementation of that policy. And somebody comes, doesn't make a dent, he appears every day on the news, but at the end of the day, you are not advancing. So that is why we introduced in government monitoring and evaluation, so that we are able to monitor from a perspective of a tangible intervention in government, are we advancing? Because Mbalula can be on a press conference every day, but he's not moving the needle. He's not transforming that ministry. But you love him because he's on press conference, but Aguambeg. So monitoring and evaluation will be able to tell you, Minister, in terms of your performance agreement, these are the things I want. I love it when we are on TV because ministers must be on TV. Ministers must be on the news to update society about the work that they do. So this question of just changing people in government and so on, it has proven that it doesn't work all the time. It has got to be done when it is absolutely necessary. It has got to be done. So we didn't manage DA strategically. They chose these portfolios themselves. Unfortunately, they went into those portfolios in which the government that was in charge in those portfolios was the government of the ANC led. And at the same time, in those portfolios, there was outstanding work that has been done. That include the bills and all other things that need to happen. So we didn't longer manage the DA. Look, ANC has got a policy of a step aside. And that policy says you can step aside from a position if you are under arrest. Ntshavheni is not arrested. He's been accused running a public trial that she has done this, she has done that, she has done this. She's not arrested. And it is alleged by you, the Fourth Estate, that Hawks people are saying the docket is finished. Now, what is the principle we are raising? We are saying that it is wrong for anyone to be tried through the press and through the media. Our laws and jurisprudence requires that when you deal with people in terms of the law, you also treat them not with prejudice. You basically give them the right that in terms of the law of the country, they are protected. And at the same time, they can be in court, but jurisprudence says to us, one of the principles, they are presumed innocent until proven otherwise. That's what it says. But the ANC says you step aside, even if jurisprudence says that to us. And our constitution have actually now been empowered even by the courts on the Ace Magashule case, that the ANC's position on the step aside is correct. And it has been strengthened and tested in law in this particular instance. So, rumors that somebody is being investigated and that the docket is finished, they mean nothing, except that they are malicious. Because that person tomorrow you are undermining your own case, because he can say that I've been found guilty in a court of law before I could even take a stand, or before I've been arrested, I'm being prejudiced. You know, where have you heard what J.P. Smith is talking about? That the police must account to him. There is no such a thing. The police must act without fear or favor and prejudice. Right? And then police go raid, and then he says he's got a forensic audit. He's a state within a state. And that these forensic people have told him this and that. Police and the rule of law requires that the state act without fear or favor, irrespective of who we are. In this country, a state president has been arrested and sent to trial, and is on trial, like Jacob Zuma, on charges of corruption and everything else. And so, all what we are saying is that let the law take its course, allow the police to do their work without any hindrance. Any other thing outside that, it is a prejudice, and at the same time is to undermine the rule of law in our country. And that's what we said about Nchaveni, because you were saying, can she step aside? How? Our policy doesn't say you step aside on rumor. It says you step aside on factual basis that you have been arrested, now you are facing the court, and many of our comrades, in your eyes, and every day as evidence, have stepped aside voluntarily. Pule Mabi, Zizi Kodwa, Mike Mabuyakul. The ANC step aside rule is working. Makashule. DA doesn't have such things. You get accused, I don't know what is guiding them. Because Malusi Boy, they acted like as if there is paraffin and he was gone. And then JP Smith, Uzabati want who blow hot and cold, who are not guided by any set of principles. The law must act on JP Smith like any other person. The police and everybody else must not allow themselves to be prejudiced on this matter. They must do their job. And they must not do Hollywood-style things. We abhor such actions. Because out of that, you don't gain anything. It's just that police have parked hawks, 15 cars, they took you. After 10 days, you are out. In the Kumbuze Lokshin, Lama Papen Kulela Kona, Omyu Putebeteng is in Tango, every day. In the afternoon, we are buoy. Hey man, lom to Simbolile Kyatin we Puma up, we a police station in the afternoon wheel. Uchain when Agizoli was never arrested. We understand that time it was under apartheid, because apartheid was not focused on this thing of crime. It was focused on us, politicians, and young comrades and everybody else. They were not focused on crime. Now, in a democratic republic, you can't have somebody arrested in the morning, in the afternoon, pumil. You are not inspiring this nation that there is a rule of law in the country. It looks like it's a banana republic. So it's not inspiring. And what we are addressing here about Nchaveni, which we are comparing, things that don't need comparison. Nchaveni was not raided. JP Smith was raided. You have never said that he must step aside. We have a policy as a party. Nchaveni knows that. But Nchaveni is not arrested. You are telling us that by somebody that Nchaveni, a case has been finalized. When are we acting? It can't be like that, Lunga. It can't be like that. Many things can be said about many of our comrades who are in the ANC that the case is finished. Wait for the case. And if ANC doesn't act and its policy doesn't kick in, then you can then take us on that. But we cannot be expected that it is alleged somebody embezzled 1.3 million and then the case is finalized. That person must then be arrested. And then that person must answer through the media, no, I'm not guilty, I'm guilty, I'm not guilty, I'm not. When the state have done its work and concluded that they've got a case that somebody must answer, they must act without prejudice, without fear or favor. That's what must actually happen. So, on the issue of blue-ticking partners, we're not blue-ticking partners. I know Helen says this, we're not blue-ticking. The point is that we respect partners. And the point that we're making is that the DA went public and said that they are not bound by anything, they can leave anytime. They kept on repeating this message, ramping it up. And then we said, if they want to leave, they can leave. Nobody will stop them from leaving. But we have always understood that this journey is going to be tough, especially with them inside and others, because we have understood that there are things that fundamentally we disagree with the DA about. And you cannot change that. And then they cannot even be resolved by other methods. But talking, we should talk. Like I say to you that in our discussions, there was never a clause in our engagement that you are now going to put a moratorium on passing the bills that we disagreed with in the National Assembly. It is not there. And then let's negotiate that. Let's discuss that. And then today we will be very dishonest to renege on that if we agree to it. So we're not blue-ticking, and President signed expropriation bill into law. You think he seeks permission from the ANC to do that before he does so? By law, he doesn't. He doesn't say, he come to the ANC and say, I'm about to sign now, be ready, guys. I'm about to sign this into law, be ready. Luthuli House, SG, be ready. This afternoon, I'm saying, no. As a matter of fact, he came from Switzerland. I saw him, and then the law was signed, and then we said, we clapped, because that's the right thing to do. We clapped. And if also he doesn't sign, we will look at it and say, what happened? And then our parliamentary committee will say, President, have returned this bill for the following reasons. Back to Parliament. The portfolio committee, legislature will tell us that. In terms of the law, the President, the oath he has taken, he's exercising, because he must be fit and proper. He must be fit and proper when he does that. That's why he's got advisors, he's got consultants. He takes time on this thing. And if it doesn't work, even us in the ANC, bills that we think are progressive have been returned back to Parliament. We had to restart again because we were told that they are unconstitutional. So we don't blue-tick our partners, and we respect everybody we are with in the GNU, and we are open to engagement. So any statement we make of principle, it is born out of circumstances that we operate in. So that's what is important. Reuters, reset of relations have never disintegrated. We need to engage, and that is what is important. We have committed to the people of South Africa and to everybody that we will engage continuously in this GNU, and all of that. That's what we will do. Of course, there are times when we're supposed to meet with Helen Zille, we could not meet, but it doesn't mean that I'm not committed or I'm blue-ticking her and all of that. So, we came to meet about the issues that we're to discuss, which are very difficult, some of them. Coalitions and all of that, local government and so on. So, these are the challenges that we face from time to time. DA have declared a dispute. We'll have to look into that. I've seen it in the press that John said they've now sectioned what of the statement of intent. We'll have to look into that, not half and puffing. What is this dispute? And then we'll attend to it. We'll attend to it between today and tomorrow and throughout the week. We'll attend to that DA. If there's a need to communicate any further in relation to that dispute, we'll do that. ENCA, step aside, step in. No. They have been charged. They must go through the DC. In terms of the ANC, the DC will make a determination about what must happen to these comrades and so on. Anyone who appear before the DC of the ANC have never stepped aside. This applies to the courts of the country. So because they've got to appear there and defend themselves and present themselves and explain themselves. Remember, our DC is equally not a punitive. It's not a kangaroo court that when you go there, you are gone. No. DC can give you measures to deal with your challenges and all of that. It's not punitive. It's building. As much as it can say go to a political school in China for 10 years, it's not punitive. You are going to eat nice in China and get different politics there and come back after 10 years being a different person. It's not punitive, it's to build. If it was punitive, it will simply guillotine people, just like that. So it's not. It's a political tool to enforce discipline in the organization, but at the same time to build cadres and members of the ANC. And on the issue of love well said, Imandel Kam. Yeah, love well said. Land grab avoidance. Yeah, this bill, in my understanding, seek also to intervene in relation to that. You know, we're in Cape Town for January 8th. I was, most of you would have seen in my social media that I went to deep in the township. I mobilized. When we were in a rally, there was somebody who was challenged, amputated both legs, and then he came to a with a skateboard. You see, he was in our rally with a skateboard. So I went to him, and then he explained to me where he sits, where he stays, and then our office went to see, and then we went to organize a wheelchair. When I got there, I realized, no man, this wheelchair won't work, because these people, they have this, what is this, where people just erect and stay there, and then they don't have ablution and all of that. What you call illegal settlements. In Cape Town, there are many. But it's in the sand, and then it stays in a shack. So we had to make arrangement beyond that wheelchair to say, what other intervention? Because that wheelchair won't work there. And how does it get there on top? I couldn't explain myself. Then we had to make arrangements to say that, okay, we must now take you out. But the problem was bigger than him only. How do we take these people to settlements? They are there, there are many. Yes, he's amputated, he's got bigger challenges than the other ones, but the problem of the community is beyond this person only. So we had to then started to bring measures in place. You heard Helen Zille how he responded to that. He said these people are refugees from Eastern Cape. And then they are here, they just erect shacks everywhere, and so on. So in that part of the country, this is big, the question of human settlement. And then this bill will assist us to settle people accordingly. When I was minister, one of the biggest challenges we had to deal with is human settlement on the rail line, which gave us difficulties to operate. So we had to give those people human settlement. It was a challenge with the city of Cape Town to do that. And then here in Gauteng is huge. So this bill will also help us to address those issues, to avoid land grab. And then Sunday World, what are the charges? We explained to you, people are charged for not appearing before the Integrity Commission. So the Integrity Commission referred their matters to the DC. It is a misconduct. When you are asked to appear before the body, you don't go. So they then pass a judgment, not a judgment, a decision that these matters must be taken to the DC. First meeting after the conference, these reports came, and then the NEC adopted that comrades must go to the DC, and that they must go and explain themselves there to the DC why they didn't go. So that is exactly that. Op-ed, you know, most. It's about contravention of ANC policy. Zizi, I don't know, but I think the Integrity Commission itself had recommended that Zizi must go to the DC after he appeared before it. Yeah. So, JP Smith, what is the ANC view? I've answered that question. That the law must grind on JP Smith. So this thing that we're watching, that law enforcement must answer to him. They know why they raided the offices. I don't know. I read in the press that you say he was raided because of the tenders that relate to this and that. We don't know. But the fact of the matter, he was raided by the police. And the police are the only ones who can explain and then deal with the matters without prejudice. And they must do that. Because they raided him not at night, daylight. Offices of the municipality, not his house. Municipality. So if you are a minister, you get raided, the police must explain what they want from you. Thank you very much. Then who was the minister and all of that? Bygones be bygones. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, colleagues. We are adjourned.
Yeah, boss.